Okay, everyone, looks like we're pretty much all here. We're going to start back up. So this is the second section of this cryptocurrency. In case you're viewing this after the fact, there was a cryptocurrency basics that you might want to go through before you go through this one. In this one, we're going to get a little further into how the cryptocurrency market works, meaning what are the driving forces for it. Is this financial advice? No. You know that. I'm just telling you what I know. I'm not a financial advisor. What drives the market is what we're going to cover next. We'll also look at what are called market cycles or patterns that have happened in the past. And as you may have heard before, past performance does not equal future performance, but it does help. So that's why we're going to look at it. We'll look at the market leaders, which are the most favorable coins or the most commonly traded coins in the cryptocurrency world. And then we'll dive into a little bit of what the future, in my opinion, of cryptocurrency is, which is DeFi or Decentralized Finance, and using the difference of that versus cryptocurrency. You came here to talk about cryptocurrency and learn about it. The future, in my opinion, within the next 5 years will be all about decentralized finance, and this is what the banks are not happy about. Okay? Because many people around the world will be able to borrow and lend cryptocurrency, make interest on it without any middlemen, which means all the interest you get to keep, not somebody else in the middle of it all. Banks do not like that. I don't blame them, but this is the future. So here we go. Just a reminder, especially if you're watching this and you didn't watch the other one, this is not financial advice, just my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. You should check with your financial advisor. It's not endorsed by Joyland or any of its entities, and cryptocurrency, when you make or lose money, is currently taxed as capital gains. I only point that out because nobody told me that when I kept asking. Eventually I found out it's currently taxed as capital gains. Within the United States, they probably will change that in the future, but right now it's long-term or short-term capital gains. A capital gain that was made when you made money in less than a period of a year, then it's short-term capital gains. It's taxed at a higher rate than if you did long-term capital gains, which is a year or longer, which is taxed at a slightly lower rate. I don't know those rates. Talk to your financial advisor. Okay, moving in. What drives the cryptocurrency market? Currently, the market is driven solely, primarily, in my opinion, in fact, solely by speculation. People do not know, nobody knows what a particular coin or a blockchain is worth. So it's what everybody agrees it's worth. If everybody thinks it's worth more than what it is today, the price goes up. If everybody thinks it's worth less, the price goes down. It just does that a lot. You can gain or lose money when you invest in cryptocurrency. You should only invest what you're willing to lose. Now, I know this is repeat for all of us here, but I just want to really drive those points home. Eventually, the market will be driven by what I call utility. Now, a coin, and I don't want to get too nerdy on this, but a coin, which is what we usually buy and sell, is a representation to help fund the blockchain, and the blockchain usually has a purpose. One of those purposes is to more efficiently move money around. And we'll talk about a coin that I will encourage you to look into that does just that. Its utility is to help the banks from one country deal with a bank in another country in a much more efficient way. And this is what are called central banks. Let's say a bank in Germany is dealing with a bank in France. Well, they have to go from German marks to French francs, or francs. I think it's franc. So, and it has to do this internationally, and there's wire transfers that take 3 to 4 to 5 days to do it, and then there's fees involved. Cryptocurrency can do it in 3 seconds, and it's done. So the banks will eventually like cryptocurrency. But the local banks, especially right now, do not like it because people are moving money away from the bank account into the crypto world. Okay, but the banks will be using cryptocurrency. That's just a given. It's just how soon they will adopt it and how soon they'll tell you that they've actually adopted it. Because some of them are already using it, but they don't. They talk out of one side of the mouth saying we hate cryptocurrency. In the boardroom, they're saying we love cryptocurrency because it's saving the bank money. We hate it because people are going away from the bank. Okay, so it's a double-edged sword for them. So eventually, certain coins will do what they're supposed to do better than others. And I put in here as an example, coins are usually, well, I mentioned that. The coins are usually there to help fund the development of the blockchain, which is really doing the real work. The coin is just sort of there for people to do their buying and selling on. Bitcoin, which is on the bottom point here, Bitcoin, which is the name of a cryptocurrency, currently leads the market. They are the big boy. They are actually the first. Do any of you remember cell phones that look smaller than this? They had flip phones. They had what are called bricks. Way back in the day, you actually had a mobile phone, which was installed in your car, and it had a little curly cable, and you picked up and you talked to it. Anyone ever seen that or heard of it? Okay. Those were the new ones when they first came out. We look at them now and go, who do that? I mean, we won't do that anymore. Bitcoin, in my opinion, might be like that. It was the first one. It's $65,000 per coin right now. It started out, somebody bought pizza for 10,000 Bitcoin. 10,000 of those. That's a lot of pizza at today's price, $65,000 per coin. But back then it was worth far less than $1. So it's grown tremendously. It leads the market. In my opinion, it's still the market leader, but it may not stay the market leader because it was the first one, just like that first cell phone, the first mobile phone is like in a museum now. So the stuff will change. Just realize for now, Bitcoin is the big boy. I'm going to use some terminology that in the marketing world or in the financial world, the markets, they have a thing called a bull market and a bear market. Bull market means things are going up. It's looking good. Everything's green on screen. A bear market means things are going down and everything's red on screen. So the green equals bull, which means up. Bear means down. So when you hear the terminology, we're in a bull market, we're at the end of a bull market, we're nearing a bear market, that's what those terms will hopefully help you understand. Bitcoin dominance. Because Bitcoin's the big boy, it actually drives the market, and there is a technical measurement called Bitcoin dominance. When the majority of the market is invested in Bitcoin versus the other coins, that tells the market people something. When the dominance level of Bitcoin goes down and the other coins equal more of the total amount of market, that tells the people something. And this is all having to do with, does the market go up or down, and for which coin does it go up? Because some coins go up and the others go down, some go down and the others go up. It's just like a stock market. Altcoins, A-L-T, altcoins are what every other coin is called that is not Bitcoin. It's an alternative to Bitcoin. That terminology is somewhat outdated, but that's still used. There are more than, on one of these slides, there's more than 6,000 coins out there. Okay? 5,999 of them are altcoins. One of them is Bitcoin. It's just the terminology, but you'll hear it over and over again, that it's altcoin season or it's not. So Bitcoin, the big boy, the rest of them are altcoins. There has been, as a pattern in the past, a 4-year bull-bear cycle, meaning there's 4 years between the top of the market and then it goes down into a bear cycle, usually for about a year to two, and it's like everything's bad and horrible, and then it starts going up again, and that enters the bullish cycle, and then it gets to the 4th year, and then it goes back down again. So then it goes back up, and then it goes down. And it's not smooth. It always kind of jerks around when it's going up and down. But there has been, in the past, for the past 8 years, a 4-year market cycle. We are currently, right now, at the end of the most recent bull cycle, meaning it's going up. So the prices are going up and continue to go up, and I'm expecting them to continue to go up some more until they turn around and start going back down again. However, this has been going on for more than 8 years, and some people I listen to are telling me it's time for a change, that this 4-year cycle is not going to continue exactly the way it's been. I still feel it's going to continue to some degree, but let's think we're up real high, or we're going to get up real high, and then we're going to go down. I think we're going to do that again, but then I don't think we're going to stay there for 3 years before we get back up again. I think we're going to move back up again relatively quickly. Whether that's 1 year, 6 months, 2 days, I don't know. But the pattern has been this up for 4 years and then down. And it stays down for a couple of years and then starts moving up again. And at the end of the 4th year, it goes back down again. We are currently near the end of the, quote, 4th year right now. Enough of that. Think about percentage gain versus price. For example, if I buy Bitcoin today, it's $65,000. Let's say I have that, which I don't. But let's say I did. So I buy one Bitcoin for $65,000. Tomorrow, it might go up to $100,000. Fantastic, right? Yes and no. I could have spent $65,000 on a coin that costs $1, and it went up to $10 by tomorrow. My $65,000 just went up tenfold with the $1 purchase, and it went up less than 100% with my Bitcoin. So the cheaper the price is, not always, but the cheaper the price is, the more opportunity there is to make a higher percentage gain than a very expensive thing. Okay? So let's say, well, for math, easy math, let's say Bitcoin was $50,000. If it went to $100,000, which is a large increase in money, that's only a double, 2 times. Whereas a $1 coin might go to $10, that's a 10 times increase, and you made more money with that. That does not mean you always just buy the cheapest coin, because there's a lot more to it. It's called market cap, or the total distribution, the total supply of that particular coin. There's a lot involved, and there's a term for that, and they call it tokenomics, because it's nerdy. Instead of economics, we're dealing with tokens or coins. They call it tokenomics. All the parts and pieces involved with trying to figure out whether this coin should go up faster than another coin is called tokenomics. So that's the term you're going to hear, or you might want to search for about a particular coin to get more details about it as part of doing your own research. Behind the scenes, now I'm going to get a little nerdy on you, only so that you hear the terminology and it's not such a big surprise once you get to it. When we do what's called a blockchain, we talked about this a little bit in the last session, and all this cryptocurrency is based on what's called the blockchain concept, or the blockchain technology. Data goes into a block. Data might mean money. It might mean information about the freshness of tomatoes, and you're shipping them across the country. Cryptocurrency or blockchain is going to be used for almost everything in the future, because it holds a lot of data and it moves it quickly and securely. So TPS is a term you'll hear, transactions per second. How many bits of information can get put into a blockchain per second will vary depending on the type of blockchain involved. And that's where they're slightly different. That's why one will in the future be considered more valuable than another if it can handle more transactions per second than another one. Okay? Once the block reaches the maximum amount of data, think of it as a box. You're sitting stuff in the box, and now it's overflowing. It can't hold anymore. We're going to put the lid on the box. It's closed that block. And then we start getting a new box and start putting more data in that, and they're chained together. So that's the block chain. How do we go about putting the lid on the box and decide that everything in the box is legitimate and there's no little bugs in there going to eat our food? Let's say it's a bunch of food. So to do that, we go through this process of what's called verification. Is it all good? Is it verified? Then we start a new block in the chain. So down below, the very last point here, I say verification is what's called a consensus method. And I told you I'm getting nerdy, so here we go. The way we decide whether everything in the box is good or the block is good is through a couple different methods. One's called proof of work. Another's called proof of stake. And then another one's called a Byzantine, actually a federated Byzantine agreement. I'm getting really nerdy on you. Then there's things called zero knowledge proofs. This is all mathematical terminology that's used behind the scenes. I don't expect you to understand any of it. I just want you to know that the terminology is something you're going to run into every once in a while. Think of it this way. Just my perspective, not a financial advisor. The first method used to come to a consensus that the stuff in the box was good and there weren't any problems with it, so let's lock it down and make it immutable. Remember that term, it's not going to change. Before it's locked down, you have to come to an agreement that everything in there is good. To do that, there was a term called proof of work. That was the very first methodology used. That's what Bitcoin uses. Proof of work was great for its period of time. It currently is fallen out of favor for many people, which means it's a little slower than it needs to be because too many people are now putting stuff into boxes. It costs more money because too many people are putting in stuff into boxes, and the people that make the new things say, well, we can make more money because there's a lot of people doing this, so we'll charge you more money to proof that the work was done. So the next version is called proof of stake. I'm not getting into the nerd stuff. I'm simply pointing out it's a little faster and usually less expensive to process than proof of work. A third generation is a Byzantine agreement. Fourth generation is a zero knowledge proof. Terminology to simply say these are the methodologies behind the scenes that make the stuff work. What we care about is, does it do it fast? Does it do it securely? And which one's better than the other ones? The ones on the bottom are better than the ones above it. That doesn't mean everything's changed. That just means the newer stuff that comes out is going to use the others. The older stuff uses proof of work and it uses proof of stake. Nerdy enough? I can get nerdier if you want, but I don't think you want it. We got a quick question here.
When you hear things like, it takes a lot of energy, is that something, in addition to mining, that plays into the energy consumption?
Yes.
Okay.
So, good point. I'll address it now slightly because we're talking about marketing conditions. The world as you currently know it is more and more interested in green energy, meaning let's just not waste a lot of energy to do something. So, as a result, the stuff that takes the most energy to close the box when it uses the most energy, it's becoming less and less favorable with the world that wants everything to be green. Green energy. Bitcoin, the first one and the oldest one, uses proof of work, which uses the most amount of energy, and as a result, people are not as happy about it because it uses a lot of energy. Maybe you don't care about how much energy it uses, but the business world that wants to look good to everybody else does care. And so as a result, they're less happy with a coin methodology that uses a lot of energy than one that uses less energy. And what that translates to between you and me is the coins that use proof of work are going to become less favorable in the future. Therefore, their price will likely be less than something that does a similar thing but uses less energy. So think about energy consumption. Proof of work is the most. Proof of stake uses a little less. And the other stuff uses almost zero energy. And as a result, it becomes more popular in the future. That's my prediction. Again, not financial advice. Currently, there are more than 6,000 coins. I actually looked this up to see what the number was. Remember I said everybody has an opinion? I found a place where they said there's more than 7,000 coins. Others say there's more than 5,000 coins. And they were all, quote, up to date. I just went in the middle, 6,000. Do I use all of them? No. Do I use a portion of them that's like 10%? No. I use like maybe 10. I look at about 10, maybe 20 because I'm nerdy. Most people I know use 1 or 2, maybe 5. The top list right here, this is based on yesterday's information, so it's a little old. It's supposed to be a humorous thing. Okay. Bitcoin, top of the market. Below it is Ethereum, which we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about both Bitcoin and Ethereum in a little more detail coming up. Another coin below it that's favorite of some of these people in here is called Cardano. To the right of each one is their, think of it this way, as a stock ticker, like their code that you use when you trade. When you get nerdy, you don't call it Bitcoin, you call it BTC. Right? When you get really nerdy, you don't call it Cardano, you just call it ADA. Yes, you're a nerd. Okay, then there are things that you don't really trade, but they have a lot of value, meaning a lot of people have a lot of money in it. They're called stable coins. A stable coin is a coin that's kind of cryptocurrency that basically tries to stay stable. Generally, it's based on a $1. It could be based on $1,000, but most of them are based on $1. It has a mathematical thing that when the value of it starts to creep up and now it's $1.0001, it says, don't do that, and it pushes itself back down. Then it gets to 99.999999 cents. It goes, up a little bit higher. So it tries to stay right at $1. Sometimes the market moves crazy enough that it's actually off by half a penny. But it's pretty stable, therefore the name stablecoin. If I bought a bunch of Bitcoin and I cashed out, but I'm not ready to put it into another coin yet, I put it into a stable coin. Okay, when the stable coin is there, it has a lot of money in it because people are cashing out their profits and sticking it into a stable coin. However, Bitcoin right now is worth more than $1 trillion. One coin, $1 trillion of money is invested into it. That's a lot. So, besides, after stable coins, we get to Cardano. This is a funny one. When I told my friends here that I was investing in SOL, they were like, that's not the best name for a coin, is it? Right? But it actually did really well, and so we don't care what its ticker is, it's made money for us. So that's called Solana. XRP is the next highest one. This is based on the amount of money invested in the coins, or what's called the coin market cap. XRP is one of our favorites, and we'll talk about why at the very end of the presentation. Polkadot, or DOT, dot, is another one. So these are like the top, whatever that, 6 or 7 coins in the market right now. We're going to go into Bitcoin, talk a little bit about Bitcoin and its details. So it's the original asset, which we talked about a little earlier. It's originally, think of it this way, Bitcoin was the beginning or the birthplace of cryptocurrency. The people that created it wanted something that was not tied to any government. They wanted a way to buy and sell things without being involved with any government. So then the big thing that they were most interested in, or one of the things they were very interested in, was called anonymity, meaning you could buy Bitcoin and nobody knows you have it. You could sell something with, you could sell some of your Bitcoin, no one would know who you were. That anonymity is a big part of the opinions people have about coins. If a coin is anonymous and they're a purist for cryptocurrency, they're going to say it's better than a coin that you have to give information about, like your name and your phone number and your social security number in order to buy it. So as a result, there's a big split in the cryptocurrency world between the purists that say it's not anonymous, it's not decentralized, it's not. And the other people are saying, well, but it's making money. I don't care. So there's a big split between the world of the purists and the not so pure. That doesn't sound good. The people that aren't purists. Bitcoin was for the purists, right? It's the very beginning of the technology. They tried to work outside the system. My opinion, remember, I'm not a financial advisor, but I got opinions. My opinion is, in order for this stuff to really take off, we got to work within the system a little bit so that the system can embrace it, and then eventually some of the stuff that's totally outside the system can have more value because people actually understand it. Until you work within a system that people understand, it's hard to get adoption into something that people don't get. So I'm one of those that's not a purist. I actually believe there's value to be working within the system and outside the system, and see when the two might work together. Who knows? So that's what Bitcoin is. The plan originally for Bitcoin was you would use it to buy and sell a cup of coffee. Okay? $65,000 per coin. You can buy a lot of cups of coffee with one coin. So in this day and age, you would buy a cup of coffee with 0.0000001 Bitcoin. $65,000 buys a lot of coffee. So you just use a portion of it. However, with $1 trillion worth of money going in and out of it every second, there's a lot of activity going on, and as a result, the time to process, you bring your cup of coffee to the counter, and you give them a number on your phone that's a piece of Bitcoin. They then put it into their computer and say, okay, I almost got your Bitcoin. Give me a second. No, give me a minute. Hold on. Oh, no, give me an hour. Oh, no. Come back tomorrow and we'll be done with your Bitcoin purchase. The speed, because there's so much activity on it, the speed of the transaction literally can take more than a day. I did that. That's why I can say it for sure. And for me to buy a cup of coffee that might be, I don't know, $4.50, my fee might be $25. So I just bought $29 worth of coffee because I spent Bitcoin on it. Bottom line is it's no longer efficient for buying and selling things because it's just too, remember proof of work, there's a lot of energy involved with it. It takes more time than it needs to, etc. As a result, Bitcoin is no longer, in my opinion, a good currency. It is a good, down at the very bottom, still a market leader, a good store of value. It's kind of like gold. In fact, it's called digital gold by a lot of people. Generally, if you own gold, you don't go to a coffee shop with your gold Kruger on and say, we'll shave off a little piece of gold so you can now buy your cup of coffee. It's just there as a store of value. It's no longer a valuable, in my mind, currency. But there are companies that see this as a problem, and they've come out with digital solutions to allow you to buy and sell using Bitcoin at a faster method. They are being deployed throughout the world. There is a country called El Salvador who has declared Bitcoin to be a viable currency for the country, and that speedier method of buying and selling Bitcoin is being deployed in El Salvador right now. So they're trying to bring it back to what the original idea was: I can buy and sell stuff with Bitcoin. In my mind, you do not want to buy Bitcoin in order to just buy something at the store. You buy it to let it stay somewhat stable, or as what some people call a hedge against inflation. Because the dollar, the value of the dollar is going down, the value of Bitcoin is actually going up. So it's one way that some of the, what I call big boys that invest lots of money, will buy Bitcoin to try to fight against the devaluation of the dollar. Ethereum, the number 2 coin. Ether is another name for it, or ETH. It's a very popular digital asset. It uses what's called smart contracts. Think of it as the operating system that lets smart contracts exist. Because of that, many other coins that are not named Ethereum use Ethereum. They are built on top of Ethereum, and because it's really nerdy, made by nerds, it never starts with a number 1, it starts with a number 0. Anybody know that? Nerds out here? 0 is the first number, then 1 is actually 2, because it's not 1, but it is 1. Okay, so you'll hear things called layer 1 crypto. That means it's on top of something that's layer 0. The operating system is one way to think of it, is Ethereum behind or underneath all of the smart contracts. What's the smart contract? We'll jump down for a second. The smart contract on the very bottom is, I didn't put it here. It's coming up. Sorry. I'll explain it now and then we'll look at the slide that says it. A smart contract is the idea that if condition A exists, meaning someone wants to buy something, and condition B exists, that thing that they want to buy is available for them to buy, and C exists, they have the money, and D exists, the amount of money is the right amount, and all those exist all at the same time, boom, it's done. So if-then statements, if you're into any of that, is kind of the idea of a smart contract. That's very valuable when it comes to what's called NFTs, the non-fungible token thing. It's a contract. I'll talk about NFTs in a minute. But think of it this way. Remember, Bitcoin was the first one out there, and it did it a certain way with proof of work? Ethereum was one of the very first ones out there, and it also uses proof of work, the least efficient method to put the lid on the box. Because of that, it's slow and costs more money to do a transaction than a lot of people want to spend or pay or wait. So other industries came up and said, we got a better way to do the smart contracts. One is called Cardano, ADA, that's one of those coins. Another one is called Polkadot, DOT. Another one's called Solana, SOL. Those are all methods to compete with Ethereum. Which one's better? What do you mean? Better is a relative term. Which one's making more money right now? Ethereum is a higher dollar amount, and Ethereum's scrambling as best they can to go from proof of work to proof of stake. Remember, we talked about, I don't know if you remember, proof of work was the oldest, proof of stake was a little bit more efficient, and then other stuff was more efficient than that. So Ethereum's going from the least efficient to the next step, which still isn't as efficient as it could be, but it's only doing a little bit at a time because there's a lot of activity going on with it, and they can't just say, boom, we're done. We have to change. They have to do it in an efficient manner that keeps the existing network running while changing, like you're changing a tire in the middle of a race. Like you're going around and you're changing the tire while you're driving at 120 miles an hour. It's a little tricky, but it can be done, and they're trying to do that right now. So the other ones, Cardano, Polkadot, Solana, they had the advantage of coming out after Ethereum and said, you know what, this isn't going to scale or grow as efficiently as it needs to, so we'll come up with a better model that scales better, and so as a result, which is better? I don't know. One might be better than the other because it scales better, but the price isn't as much because it's newer. So this is one of those things, are you looking for the future, or are you looking for something that already exists? So those are things that are involved when you do your own research. Still, the smart contract leader is Ethereum. Some people say that Ethereum will be worth more than Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, remember, is $65,000 per coin. Some, they call it, these are nerds, so they call it a flippening. When you flip the position of one over the other, they've given it a name, a flippening. When the flippening happens, Ethereum, in theory, will be worth more than Bitcoin. But in my opinion, something like Cardano might actually just flipping more and be flipping worth more, flipping more. I don't know, right? So nobody really knows because all this is based on speculation, but we're starting to get a little bit of utility involved. Utility means, does the coin do it better than the other coin? And in my opinion, all three, Cardano, Polkadot, and Solana, are more efficient and better than Ethereum, but they cost less. But remember I talked about earlier about percentage gain? They are actually, in my opinion, a better bet. Even though they cost less and you don't get as much money back, Solana might grow by 3,000% while Ethereum grows by 500%. So where do you put your money? That's part of the thing you discuss with your financial advisor. Do you want more, in essence, stability with something that's higher in price? Or do you want to take on more risk with a better payoff? I'm going right now for the better payoff with Solana, Polkadot, and Cardano. So I don't have a lot of money invested in Ethereum. But that's just my opinion. If you have a question, please come up to the mic, even if it's a little one, because we want people on the video to be able to hear it. It's a, yeah. Maybe it's not. Thanks.
Okay. So do those three that you were just mentioning use the other for scaling process, like the Byzantine and the other one for the
That's
processing?
a great question. I don't remember. I think Cardano is proof of stake, meaning it's the second level one. I don't remember. I think Solana is using a different methodology. All I can say is that they're more efficient than proof of work. 100%. I mean, for sure. I'm sure on that one. And Ethereum, shortly, which means since 2018, they've been working on this. We're now currently 2021 to move from proof of work to proof of stake, and they haven't quite got it yet. It's taken them a while. But in theory, sometime next year, they think they're going to be changing from proof of work to proof of stake. And just remember, proof of stake is not the most efficient. So they're a little behind the curve. And so as a result of that, that's why I think the ones that are already proof of stake or beyond that are a better bet in the long term. Short term, Ethereum may flip with Bitcoin and become the number one. Right now it's number 2. NFTs. This is something I don't really understand fully. It's still sort of new. NFT stands for non-fungible token. Think of it as a unique thing represented on a blockchain, a digital representation of a thing. What's his name? We'll go with Magic Johnson, a famous basketball player. Let's say when he won, or he helped his team win the NBA finals or something like that, he was wearing a pair of shoes, okay? There's people out there that will spend a lot of money to get those pair of shoes. You can represent that pair of shoes with what's called an NFT. There's only one of them. It's unique. It's immutable. It can't be changed. And you can actually own the token. And guess what they're doing? They put the shoes in a room with a video camera on it. Because they don't really want you to have the shoes. They want you to, quote, own the shoes so you can look at it. And with that little coin, that NFT, non-fungible token, you can tell everybody in the world, I own those shoes. Tomorrow, you can sell those shoes to somebody else. And they own those shoes. And it's still there through the video. Nobody's touching them, but you're looking at them. If you think I'm crazy, this is happening right now. People buy artwork that they don't own, I mean, they do own, but they don't own. It's not in their house. It's in some museum with a camera that they can look at all that they want, okay? They can tell their friends they own it, and they can even share the link so others can look at it, but they don't, quote, own it. Only one person owns it. And then when they want to, for $65 million, they can sell it to someone else because they bought it for $60 million, and they just made $5 million on it. And this is happening every single day right now. So NFTs use smart contracts. Remember I said if you have the money and the price is right, then we do the deal. Done. Do the shoes come into your house? No, they're just sitting over there with a camera. Because that's part of the deal. Because it's easier to buy and sell that way than having to ship the shoes and wonder, does FedEx have insurance enough to cover $65 million worth of shoes? No, probably not. So instead of shipping them around, you just see the picture of it. So this is part of technology that's a little weird, but if you've ever done gaming and you buy a sword in order to get through a certain battle, NFTs will be taking over that world. So when you buy a thing that's got a certain characteristic and it's unique and there's only one of them that's represented by what's called an NFT, non-fungible token. Those use smart contracts to do it. Cardano, Polkadot, Solana, as well as Ethereum are all able to process that. When it's cheaper to process the transaction with Solana than it is for Ethereum, eventually Solana will win out because it's cheaper and it's faster. So this is part of the world that we're looking at. And it's kind of weird, but the way I look at it is I don't necessarily understand it, but the price keeps going up. So maybe I'm going to buy one of those because I want the price to go up. And do I care about whether his shoes smell or not? I don't know. But, you know, I can't afford $65 million, but maybe someday I can. The next thing that uses smart contracts, huge, huge importance. This is the future, in my opinion, is what's called decentralized finance. The nickname for that you will hear, I just realized I didn't put it on the slide, is called DeFi. D-E-F-I. DeFi. Stands for decentralized finance. The point of decentralization is a big part of cryptocurrency. Decentralized means no single group or individual controls the thing, the blockchain or the coin or whatever it is. How does that work? Well, let's say the owners of the blockchain is split up amongst 1,000 people, that everybody has a computer and they all have one little piece of the puzzle. So when any decision needs to be made, all of them need to decide yes, or a consensus of them, a certain percentage of them have to say yes before that happens. Part of that discovery of the consensus is using proof of work, proof of stake, or Byzantine agreements. These are the things that we've been talking about. I'm just trying to bring it into the understanding of how it works with all the parts and pieces. Decentralization has an advantage that no one entity, no one company can say, I have more money than you, therefore I'm going to mess you guys over and I'm going to do it whether you like it or not. That currently happens in the current situation for most of things in life right now. Decentralization negates that. It's not possible for one person with a lot of money to own it all unless they buy all of the little computers. Then it's no longer decentralized. I mean, all the computers that are used to make the consensus, if they owned all of them, they could control all of them. So part of the process of figuring out how to make a cryptocurrency or a blockchain effective is to limit the ability for one entity to buy all of that. And so that's why some of it gets really, really complicated, because their goal is to decentralize and not allow it to be centralized. One method of centralization is called a government, right? If a government controls a lot of stuff, that's centralized. So you'll hear finance talked about as DeFi or CeFi. CeFi stands for centralized finance. Most of what we work with right now is centralized finance. We have to go through a bank, or we have to go through a broker, or we have to go through the stock exchange, okay? And everybody involved gets a piece of the pie. Decentralized Nobody involved gets a piece of the pie. You do the transaction and you get all the stuff because it's decentralized. It's more secure. But if you look at the top bullet point or the top sub-bullet point, centralized can be faster because it's all in one place. They can process everything faster. When it's spread out amongst 1,000 computers, everybody's internet connection starts to get involved, and now it gets a little bit slower. So part of the process that they're doing with the newest blockchains is they're trying to figure out how can we be decentralized, which we like better, but still fast. And so there's all kinds of stuff about how do we determine when to put the lid on top of the box and say it's done. And that's that proof of work, proof of stake, and other. The other is more and more common now in the newest blockchain. Smart contracts is a utility. And this is where I talked about it before, or earlier. If A happens, then do B, followed by C, and it's all automatically executed. Boom, done. Magic Johnson's shoes went from me to Larry because he had $5 million more, and I was willing to get rid of that for a profit of $5 million. Thank you. Yeah. So it's initially agreed upon before it's created. It's commonly used for finance, which we're talking about like moving shoes around and paying money for that. But it could be used for an Uber request. Uber is one of those drive share services, right? If I am in a certain location, that's A, and I want to go to another location, that's B, and we have a party that's willing to agree to do that is C, and boom, Uber's here. Currently, it's done with other methodologies. In the future, in my mind, it'll be done on the blockchain. This is the most exciting part to me. Decentralized finance is about to take over the world of finance. It's going to take over centralized finance. Currently, centralized finance is owned by the banks. Remember I said banks don't like this stuff? This is the big reason why. It allows you to take a coin. Decentralized finance allows you to do this. Take a coin and stake it. That's the term they use. Staking or stake a coin. While you hodl. Remember hodl? Hold on for dear life. In other words, you just hold it. You can stake a coin while you hold it and gain interest on that coin. So for example, if I think a coin I like, which is XRP, is going to go from currently about $1 to $5,000 or $10,000 per coin, I don't want to sell it. I just want to hold it. I want to hold on for dear life. But wouldn't it be nice if while I'm holding, I'm getting a 10% increase on my XRP amount every year? Yes. Or what if I got a 15% increase or a 25% increase? Those are all available and becoming more and more commonly available using decentralized finance. The primary reason why is there's no middleman. It's me and the coin, and it's electronically smart contract controlled. There's no people involved. So nobody else needs to get a cut of the increase of the value of that coin plus the increase of the interest, because automatically through smart contracts it's being lent to people. People can borrow money and then they pay you back 10%. And another person borrows the money and they pay it back 10%. And during that period of time, the coin just made 20%, and you get all of it, that 20%. And who's managing it? Nobody. It's a computer and a bunch of conditions. If this condition exists, then do this and that, and then boom, when the time's done, send the money out. Bankers, out of the equation, not happy. That's currently why banks don't like this, because they can see what's coming up. So I put in there, banks hate it. Celsius.com is a site that I currently use. It's currently offering interest rates of between 4% to 14%. So I buy a coin, I stick it on Celsius, and I make 14% per year. Let's say I did it with $1,000. If I put that $1,000 into a bank, I'm making 0.014. meaning a lot less than 14%. Now, there is a risk right now with Celsius that the coin I put it into, currently, let's say it's $5, it might go down to 2. I'm making 14%, but the value of the coin is less. So even though I got 14% more coins, the net value for me is less, and I just lost money. That's a risk. In the future, a thing called Flare Networks is going to guarantee that you will not lose money. That's the big deal. That's coming up. You're going to be able, with decentralized finance, to guarantee that even if the coin goes down in value to some degree, you're not going to lose money. You have a guarantee that none of that interest that you were supposed to get, it'll all come to you. Now, they're at first not going to be able to guarantee the coin's not going down, but when they start doing it with what are called stable coins, remember we talked about stable coins? How it's $1, and when it goes up a little higher, it pushes itself down. When it's a little bit low, it pushes itself back up. When you combine that with the ability for guaranteed interest, you'll never lose that amount of interest. You just have a guaranteed interest rate, and you cannot lose. That's really going to bother the bankers. Because until then, they're going to say, well, you might lose money overall, blah, 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 blah. In the near future, and I say near, maybe 2 to 3 years, this will be fully up and operational. It's in process right now. It's coming out right now. In fact, it's in what they call a canary network. You know the concept of canary in a coal mine? You put the bird there. If there's a problem, the canary dies before the people die. That tells them, oops, better change something quick. Get out. They make these networks, right now the Flare network is they have another version of it called the Songbird network. Currently we're recording this and talking about it in October of 2021. Songbird network is live. It's a canary network. They're doing it real live. When there's problems, they fix them, and eventually it'll turn into the Flare network, which will be tested by the Songbird network. And so this is in process right now. So I'm not telling you stuff that I hope happens. It's actually in the process of rolling out as we speak. So this, remember, talked about decentralized versus centralized. Centralized means one entity can control something and change it. This is bringing about another new innovation, which is called a decentralized exchange. Remember, we talked about Coinbase, we talked about Uphold. Those are places where you can go and buy and sell cryptocurrency. They are owned by the company that owns Coinbase, which, by the way, is publicly listed on the stock exchange in the United States. So there's an entity that owns it, that gets a cut out of everything you do on it, because that's how they make their money. In the future, actually it's already existing, but in the future it'll be more common, there will be exchanges that are not owned by any company located physically on Earth. It's all decentralized, or a DAO, D-A-O, Digital Autonomous Organization. One reason they're doing that is because regulators are able to go grab a company and say, we want to sue you, so we're going to collect $50 million and you're going to say, I'm sorry, and then we'll leave you alone until we sue you again. And then we'll collect $2 billion and you'll have to say, oh, sorry. Because that's the way regulators are doing it right now, because it's new and it's like the wild, wild west, and the companies are just like, we don't know what we can and can't do, so we're just going to do it, make a bunch of money, and if we get sued, oh well, we made $6 trillion, we're going to pay $2 billion, that's fine. Okay? That's what they're doing. In the future, there's going to be more and more decentralized, which means the government's going to have a really hard time suing somebody that isn't there, because it's all computers working it. Smart contracts, remember the concept of smart contracts? When this condition and this and that exists, do it. Smart contracts are behind all this stuff. That's why I mentioned smart contracts, because it's part of the system that's making all this stuff work. There's a state near us called Wyoming, right? Horses, nature. digital autonomous organization. They were one of the first states in the United States that created the ability for you to make a DAO in Wyoming, because somebody there was smart enough and said, you know what, we're known for old technology. Now we're going to just jump ahead of everybody else and bring all these companies to make a DAO in our state. So they're one of the first ones in the country that did that. I think Texas followed it. There may be some other states that are doing it right now as well. My prediction is DeFi will eclipse cryptocurrency. That's just a bold statement if you understand it. Cryptocurrency is humongous. It's already $2.5 trillion, and only 1% to 2% of the world is using it. And I think beyond that will be DeFi. Why? Because people that have $100 and that's all they got can enter that money into a lending pool and make 10 to 20 to 30% on that money. And all of a sudden now they're making money where they never could have done it before, just by letting their money be involved in this digital economy. And that's all over the world. We're talking about billions of people doing that. All because of smart contracts and cryptocurrency. So this is just my guess as to what's coming up after cryptocurrency. But here we talk about the last thing before the questions, my favorite cryptocurrency. Again, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is my opinion, and I just want to make sure that's really clear. There is a coin out there which is made by a company called Ripple, R-I-P-P-L-E. And the name of the coin is XRP. I like this coin. A fair amount of people here like this coin. Doug introduced me to this coin. Ripple is currently being sued by the SEC. That's a governmental organization called the Securities and Exchange Commission. My first thought was, they're being sued by the government. Why should I invest in it? That's not a good idea. And then I thought, let me look into this a little bit more. And I did. And I didn't put it up there. 90+% of the people that own XRP are outside of the United States. So I thought, okay, well, even if the US makes Ripple go away, or makes the coin XRP go away, it's still going to be used by the rest of the world. And so I'm looking at it and saying, well, then there's actually an advantage for it being sued by the government. Because what it did is it dropped the price, because everybody's afraid of it, because the government's suing it. Well, in my opinion, just my opinion, central banks around the world, every single country has a central bank, will use it, XRP. They will use XRP. It takes only 3 to 5 seconds to finalize or fully settle a transaction, where without that technology, it takes up to 5 days just to move the money around via wire from one currency to another one, and then accountants have to get involved in settling it and making sure the books match and everything like that. Ripple or XRP does it in 5 seconds. Boom, done, fully settled, move on. Banks like that. Remember I told you banks don't like crypto? Well, they like this kind of stuff because it reduces their time, it reduces their fees, the money they have to spend to move from one currency to another one. It's cheaper, faster, more secure, so the banks are going to use it, in my opinion. In my opinion also, it will hold all the money in the world to some degree, because banks are part of our current financial system. This is where I talked about staying within the system, working within the system, but increasing or improving the technology that's used. This is why I like XRP. The purists of crypto think it's stupid. You shouldn't ever use it because it uses the banks. People that are purists with cryptocurrency don't like banks at all. They don't want you to ever use a bank ever again. I think we'll maybe get there at some point, but there's going to be a process of going through the system right now to get to that point. And that, in my mind, is what the strength is of XRP. It's sort of a bridge. It's actually technically called a bridge asset because it goes from one currency to another without involving the dollar. Somewhere in there. It's not tied to the USA world's reserve currency. I like the USA. I live here. I enjoy living here. But there's a lot of countries that don't like the fact that we print more money and that affects the value of the dollar, which is being used in the process of translating from one currency to another. XRP will get rid of that. And so there's every country in the world besides the United States would like that to happen because they don't like monetary policy. You ready for a nerdy term? The Trippin dilemma. You can look it up. Trippin dilemma is currently going on, where when we, US people, affect the value of a dollar, that also affects the currency translation from German marks to French francs. But it shouldn't, but it does. And so as a result, newer technology like XRP, unrelated to any country's currency, we talked about that earlier. And the value of that is huge for the banking system of the world. It's not tied to the US reserve currency. It works within the world's existing regulated banking system. It was made specifically for banks. It's using that other, put the lid on the box thing, the consensus mechanism called Federated Byzantine Consensus. It's cheap, fast. It costs, you know, like if you do an international wire and you send $1,000 to someone in Moscow, they charge you $50 to do that. And it takes 5 days. And you have to use multiple banks. You go from Ent to Chase Manhattan, which then goes to another big bank in Russia, which then goes to the recipient's local bank. Those are called correspondent banks. That's why it takes 5 days. With XRP, it goes from me to them. Boom, 3 seconds, done. And it costs 0.00001 penny. Yes, that's good. That's not even 1 cent. So think of it this way. People are going to be able to move money around from place to place to place without having to deal with large, expensive. If you're in a third world country and you're sending $100 back home because you made it in this other country and you're able to support your family back home, do you want to spend 50% or half of that on a fee to send it? No. But you'd be better off sending it costing you maybe, because the bank's going to take a cut, they might charge you $10 or maybe $5 or $3. Till someone says, we're not going to charge anything. And then all the other banks say, okay, we'll not charge anything. Because it's negligible, the amount of money it costs to actually send it around. Currently, you cannot buy XRP, the thing I like, you can't buy it in the United States because it's being right at the top, it's being sued by the SEC. So all those exchanges that are based in the United States, their lawyers said, it's not illegal, but you better not sell it because you might get sued by the SEC because we don't know how that lawsuit's going to end up. So what did I do? I went to the UK with the uphold.com and I bought my XRP there. And I registered. They got my phone number. They got my social security number. They got all that know your customer detail. KYC is a term you'll hear. Remember, these are nerds. Everything's got to have an acronym. So KYC stands for Know Your Customer. KYC. I had to do that. The reason why is the tax man still wants my money when I make money on it, even though they're suing them for existing. At one point, they're saying, we don't like them, we're going to sue them. At the other times, like, well, if you happen to make any money with it, we want money from you. It's just the way governments work. So my opinion, in the near future, hopefully within 6 months, XRP will go from what it currently is today, which is about $1.14, maybe $1.12. This morning it was $1.12. It went from $1.14 down to $1.12. I think it's going to probably end up being at least $1,000, hopefully $5,000 or $10,000 per coin. But that's just my opinion. If you're willing to hodl or hold it for maybe 3, 4, 5 years, that's a pretty big improvement. 10,000 times, or maybe 1,000 times what it currently is right now. Bitcoin, when it first came out, was less than $1. It's currently $65,000. Within the last year, I think Bitcoin dropped all the way down to $3,000. I think something around there, $3,000 to $5,000, and then it gone back up to $65,000. So it's to point out that we're in the beginning phase. Knowing what you invest in is important. I spent a whole lot of time determining whether I like this particular coin or not. I'm simply sharing it with you. I'm not guaranteeing it's going to make money. I'm just suggesting strongly it will. Because right now, even at $1.15, if it goes up to $10, that's a 10 times increase. That's pretty good. Okay? So, pay off your house, exactly. All right, doing your own research. How do you do that? You go onto YouTube. In my opinion, this is one of the best places to go to get information about these coins. You talk to people you trust. You watch out for scams. Remember, nothing's free. Everybody's going to have an opinion. You're going to have to deal with that. That's part of a new market. Everybody's going to, people are going to say this is fantastic. Someone else will say it's horrible. Don't do it. And it could be just because it's not working outside the system. It's working within the system, which XRP is. So some of the purists will say it's a horrible coin. Don't touch it because they're using the banks. Okay? I don't care that they're using the banks if I can make 1,000% increase. That's me. You might be more of a purist. You just don't want to use it. Fine. Some YouTube channels I like. Now, these are the ones listed in the first section with a couple more added because this is a little bit more advanced than what we talked about at the very beginning. The bottom two, I think I added, were Paul Barron Network. They do a lot of marketing analysis as well as technical analysis and fundamentals, and they do a lot of interviews with the people that create the coins, which is kind of neat. Then there's a guy named Alessio who is just incredibly good at charting. Him and the top guy, the second guy, Blockchain Backer, are the two that I trust the most. If you've ever done charting with trading and finances, you can almost make a chart tell you anything it wants, right? You can just translate it and say, well, because of this and this, I think it's going to do that. So that means at some point you got to get to the point where you kind of trust someone. I'm just going to tell you, after doing day trading for many years in a row, I started to understand charts, and now I understand that I really don't understand them. And so when I find the people that seem to really know it better and they've got a good track record, meaning they predicted this at the beginning of the year and it actually happened, and they did that more than once, they're pretty good. And so these people right up here, the ones that I'm talking about with charts, tend to have done that. So that's why I'm bringing them up. So the last part is questions. And Doug may want to come up, and Richard, if you want to come up.
I just have a comment on, we've covered a lot of information. And again, you can, like smart contracts, what the heck is that? You can Google that or search for it on YouTube, and you can get information, pretty much anything that you want to know about concerning all these different terms and so forth. Also, the one place that I've found where Crypto Jeb, he's a young man that started in cryptocurrency just a couple of years ago. He's now a millionaire just because he's learned how to do it. He's like 19, 20 years old. He's, what he does is he specializes, their channel specializes in analyzing. So if you want to really get into it, you can follow him and learn how to analyze these various things. But again, there's all kinds of channels out there.
And that one's called Crypto Jeb?
Crypto Jeb, yeah. He's a believer. He's, his whole crew are believers. And what I really like about the cryptocurrency community, at least the ones that I follow, is that a lot of them are believers, and they're there because they've learned how to do it and they want to help you to learn how to do it. And that's really encouraging to me.
So what's kind of neat about this, there's no disadvantage for them to help you. In other words, the more people involved in doing crypto, the more everybody has the potential to profit from it. So it's actually to their advantage to help you learn how to do it so you can join in the game. So it's not disadvantage for them, and so it's actually beneficial for them to help you. Now I'm helping you here because we felt enough people were asking us questions that it'd be good to just have a class on it. Now, if you want to continue to gain more information and want to be updated, the fact that we are doing that, we're going to get a list somewhere where you can put down your name and address. You can do it inside Zoom. Address meaning your email address or a phone number, and we can try to keep you updated in case we do something again in the future, or if you have further questions, we can correspond that way. But right now, we're available for more questions if you have them right now.
Then the other thing is, you've talked about that we're in a bull market. So some people are saying, well, is it too late for me to get into it? That you can address to that. And then also, okay, now that I've made this money and it's at the peak, how do I exit out of this? Is there an exit plan that you suggest or anything? Because it will go down, or some will go down. Mm-hmm. If you could address those two.
Okay, sure. The question about, is it too late? The answer is no, mostly. It's not too late. We are in the bull market. We're near the end of the bull market based on patterns that have happened in the past, but nobody knows if the bull market might not continue on for years. And even if you bought something now, if you're willing to have a longer time frame, meaning willing to hold it, let's say you bought something XRP, maybe it goes up to $10 and you bought it at $10. It may drop down to $2 for 6 months and then start moving its way up to $50.
Buy more.
Or 500. Yeah. And then you buy more. So it's all based on your perspective as to time frame. Short term, if you're able to get in on this soon, we're not yet at alt season. Alt season is when, all right, short version. Bitcoin goes up, goes down, and in the process of going down, people sell their money out of Bitcoin and they buy altcoins that are cheaper. They buy like thousands of them instead of just one coin. And then those, because they're buying it, go up while Bitcoin's going down. That's the expectation for right now. We are waiting for Bitcoin to be at the very top, and then it starts to go down because people are selling and buying altcoins, and then those will take off crazy. So Bitcoin might go up 200%. Altcoins are going to probably go up 500 to 5,000% before this, quote, bull market ends, which might happen next month. Yeah. Might be the very beginning of 2022. But sometime in the near future, the bull market overall will end. But Bitcoin currently hasn't even gone up to its highest point. It's near it before it starts to go down, and then money goes into the altcoins, which start to take off. So that's been the pattern over the last few years. I think it will continue for this year. But in my opinion, it's just my opinion, I don't think when it goes down into the bear market, it's going to stay there very long or go that low. I think it's going to go down and then start moving back up again because more and more people, remember, only 1 to 2% of the people are involved right now. Well, next year there's probably going to be 10% of the people involved. That means more money comes into the market, which means the prices of things go up. Yeah. So, long answer to the quick question, is it too late? The answer, in my opinion, is no, it's not too late, but you might want to be smart about what you buy and when you buy it, which is, that's normal for anything. Not that much different for crypto. Second part of the question had to do with exit strategy. I'm going to give you one that I use and I would suggest because I think it's got value. Let's say I put $10,000 into the crypto market. If my investment goes up to $30,000, I put in 10, it's now 30. I will take out my 10, put it back in my bank, or just leave it on the stable coins on the exchange. And now I've just made $20,000 that I don't worry about because I got all my money back. And I got $20,000 extra. Remember, it made 30. I took out 10 that I put in originally. I'm feeling pretty good about that because now I'm just playing on their money, not mine. That's one suggestion or an exit strategy. And then every once in a while, when I feel like, you know what, it's gone up to a high amount, I might sell some of it, but not all of it, and buy in another coin or just put it into the bank account or send it to a friend. That's one exit strategy. Yeah. Jason, send it to Jason. Or Richard, or Larry, or whatever. Any other questions? Please throw them out. And if you have one, please come up. We'll give you the microphone. The primary reason is not to embarrass you by any means, but it's to get the sound of your question onto the video so when you watch this again, you'll be able to hear that question. Doug has something.
I'm just going to follow up with, is it too late? Right now, most of everything that's going on with the cryptocurrency, digital asset world is speculation, and it's getting ready to turn into use case. They're going to start using XRP. They're going to start using Solana. Cardano they just had a huge upgrade in their technology, and they just released it last month. So they're now starting to do smart contracts. What's a smart contract? It's any contract between two people. That's basically it. Pretty soon, you're going to be able to buy a house on crypto, on the blockchain, and it's going to be in the network. You're going to have a person that's wanting to sell, a person that wants to buy, and it's not just the money that's transferring, it's everything. It's the title. You're not going to even need a title company anymore. All the title information is going to be on the blockchain. So you're not going to have to go through any of that stuff. It's going to say, I want to buy this house. Boom. You hit the button, you send the money, and all of a sudden, within 8 seconds, 3 to 10 seconds, you own the house. It's in your name. You have the title. You have everything, you know. Now you've got to get a loan, and all that stuff's going to be in there too. But you're going to be able to buy cars. You're going to be able to do everything's going to be on the blockchain. It could even change. I mean, they're starting to come out with different types of technologies. So the one thing that I would recommend is when you're looking at different assets, look at the technology that's behind the company or the coin.
About the question, is it too late? There's one of the ones that's the smart contract competitor to Ethereum. Remember, Ethereum's the big boy right now for the smart contract. One of the ones that I mentioned earlier is called DOT or Polkadot. Polkadot in November, which isn't, we're in October now. The end of November, meaning a little more than a month away, is about to release a new version of their thing with 10 other coins that are using Polkadot as the operating system. Remember we talked about Ethereum as the operating system, and there's hundreds of coins on top of that? Polkadot, which is a more efficient version of Ethereum, in November of 2021 is about to release 10 new coins related to Polkadot that will start at a lower price and move up probably pretty quickly. So this is all nerdy, but it's based on research I've been doing, and those video channels, they talk about this is coming up, they tell you it's coming up. So even though the market might be doing whatever, this particular coin has just had a rebirth, and all of a sudden there's 10 new ones coming based on that, and you could maybe invest in one or all 10 of those because you don't know which one of them is going to work, or invest in Polkadot, which is the underlying thing that makes all of them work, which is like what Ethereum did a while ago. So it's always going to have new stuff coming out, whether the whole market is in the process of going up or not. It might be going down, but there's other stuff going up that's not big enough to affect the whole market. So as a result, we're still in a, quote, bear market going down, but you're making 5,000%.
Yeah.
Not bad in a bear market.
Going from speculation to use case. You're
Yep.
going to start seeing these technologies being used.
Now, when he says use case, that's the term I was using called utility. They have a reason to exist, not just to make money with people speculating, but there's a real reason for that blockchain to exist.
So it's right now is a great time. It's still early.
So if that's it for the questions for now, we'll end the recording. You can come up and ask me individual questions. I'd rather you do it now so we can get it on the recording, but if you don't have a question right now, Richard's got one coming up.
We see that the coins that you had on there, and a lot of times people, I'm just throwing out what some people might think. Well, if I don't get into this coin now, what in the future will there be other coins that are going to come along that are like at a low cost that have the potential to go this go high?
Yes. Quick answer is yes. There will always be new technology. The disappointment will be that some of the coins that are really good right now might not be doing as well in the future. And as an example, I'm going to just throw out there, different than many advisors, in my opinion only. I think Bitcoin isn't going to last forever for various reasons. Old technology, very expensive to use, high energy expense to make it work. But there's other people like the country of El Salvador that are betting that it's going to be fine for a long, long time. So just my opinion. But I think some will do the flipping thing, meaning one's going to be now the market leader, another will be the market leader. Very similar to the regular stock exchange, not IBM, right? Way back in the day, IBM was like the biggest blue chip stock. Nobody had ever heard of Google. What's a Google? It's what a sound a kid makes. Google. But now Google's way far beyond what IBM is. So things will change. I just think it's going to change really fast. So this is something that if you can get in on it relatively soon and you're willing to hold or hodl, what they call it, you're going to benefit from it. Yes.
I was been tracking on my Coinbase app on some things, and it's really interesting, just as an example of how someone could invest a little bit, you were talking 30,000 or 10,000 or whatever the case is. So the Polkadot that you mentioned, 1 year ago, it was selling for $3.88. About 7 months in, it hit a high of $49.69. And then, oh my gosh, it dropped all the way back down to $10.98 about 3 months later. And currently, it is sitting at $43.16 or 41. I can't tell on the scale.
Yep.
But anyhow, in a 1 year period of time, that's where the volatility would allow somebody that only had $500 or $1,000 to invest at $3.88.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, it help. You have to train and think about what the reasons are for that kind of stuff. But it just is encouraging to me that I can't think of hardly any other thing that you could make a legitimate $500 investment in if you could afford to lose that $500,
Yep.
and it realistically inside a 12-month period go from being worth $3.88 to $49.
Right.
And the ability to just get up in the morning and check your graph to see where it's at without a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, someone had mentioned, you can come up with a question in just a minute. Okay. Someone had mentioned the idea of exit plans, but there's also entry plans. If I have in my mind $1,000 to invest, I probably don't want to invest all of it right away. I might invest $500 of it. And then if the thing I invested it in went down in price, but I still believe long-term it's going to go up, I'm going to buy more when it's lower. And that's called dollar cost averaging. This is a term you may hear in the financial world. In other words, it was $1 and then it went down to 50 cents. I was able to buy twice as much for the same dollar's worth when it went down. And now my average price is in between the 50 cents and the $1 when I bought it. So average 75 cents is what I paid for it. And your dollar cost averaging, so even though something goes down, if in the long term you think it still has the potential, then take some of that extra money that you didn't invest right away, that it was in your plan to invest, and buy it at a lower price. So even if you buy it near the top of the market now, don't worry, it'll probably go down a little bit. Buy some more, and then when it starts to go up, you get the advantage of being able to average your dollars into it. Just not a good idea to take all your money and stick it in all right now, because you don't know whether it's going to start dipping or it's just going to keep rising. Yes.
So is Ripple comparative to Ethereum, where Ethereum has 10 types of coins? And Ripple is Ripple like that? Is it
Okay.
a
Good question.
platform?
Yeah.
And the second question is Bitcoin centralized or decentralized?
Okay.
Okay.
We'll start with the last coin. Bitcoin is decentralized. Remember, it was from the very beginning built to be outside the system. The system, the man, is centralized. It's all controlled by, let's say, a government. Decentralization means it's controlled by hundreds or thousands of individual entities. So Bitcoin is truly decentralized. The question she asked about Ethereum versus Ripple. Ripple is the name of the company that makes XRP. Okay? XRP is one coin. Ripple has one coin, XRP. Ethereum is one coin. But think of it again as an operating system below, on top of it, all these other smart contract companies have there. So there is only one Ethereum. But other companies that make coins use Ethereum to make their coin work. Just like in the future, Polkadot is one coin, but other companies will be using Polkadot to make those coins work. So usually one company has one coin, and that's pretty much it. What makes XRP work? The XRP ledger. It's a accounting system in the sky that works really fast and cheap. And so, in my opinion, banks will use it. And it is decentralized. And it is using the most one of the most efficient consensus mechanisms. So it uses very little electricity. That's a good thing. It's used by the existing banking system. It includes regulatory parts. So it's not trying to go outside the system. So in my opinion, that's a good thing. For some people, that's a bad thing because it's not pure. But in my mind, it's part of the transition into this digital world that is pretty much coming. So as an example, even though the rest of the world isn't using XRP, they've been testing XRP for the last 7 or 8 years. And nobody knew that. The only way I know that is there's a thing called the World Economic Forum. Yeah, well, it's out there, and they're trying to control money around the world. They have an annual meeting in Davos. Is that in Switzerland, I think? Somewhere, Davos, I don't know where it is. And they have a picture of all the bankers and governmental people that were involved in the meetings. And there's this one guy that's in all those pictures, and he's not part of a government. And he happens to be the CEO of Ripple. He's been there for the last 7 years. Maybe there's something going on. Just a thought. Just my opinion. Okay, one or a couple last questions, then we'll close for today.
Some people may ask, well, how much money do I need? I don't have that much.
Okay, the minimum investment, $10. From what I've seen, $10 is the minimum you can spend to buy some cryptocurrency. You may end up with 500 coins if it's a very low dollar amount per coin, but they tend to require you to spend $10. So it's not a large amount.
If you do not have a Coinbase account and you're wanting to get one, Ronnie can send you a link. And when you use his link, you both get $10 worth of Bitcoin just for signing up. You won't receive it inside your account until you actually put at least $100 worth of it in there. But you can get started with, you know, a little bit and build, and they give you, and then once you get into the Coinbase, they have these little tutorials that you learn about different coins, and they will pay you in these newer coins just by watching these videos and answering questions. So you can get 60 to 100 to a couple $100 worth of cryptocurrency just by signing up, going there, and then taking the little video tests.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I learned a lot about crypto when I first started with Coinbase by just going through those little tutorials. And I made, you know, $10 of this coin and $5 of that coin for free just by watching the video. They're like, yeah, they're just a few minutes, and you answer the questions, and if you got it wrong, it says that was wrong, try again. And so it's really not too hard, and then you just answer those questions, and now they give you $10 worth of Bitcoin, or they give you $5 worth of Filecoin, or some other coin that you just learned about. The point is, if you just get started, get the wheel rolling, you're going to feel more comfortable making decisions moving forward. And if you don't start now, it's going to take, well, just start now if you can. That's hopefully why you're here, or tell your friends about it, and maybe you can learn together. All right. I'm going to say that's it for now. Thank you for attending the classes today. These will be available on video so you can watch them later. And if someone can help us get a list where we can put down names and email addresses, if you're interested, we can try to keep you updated if we're going to do another class, or just keep in touch with Joyland and you'll be able to find that out. Thank you. If you're not going to be here, they're always going to be available. Right. And future classes will always be recorded and put up on our website with a link to the YouTube video that we make out of it. And again, thanks for being here. And remember, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. It's simply information to share that helps you.